Hello, my name is Matthias Cavodi. I'd like to welcome guys to my channel. Today, we're going to talk about Wolverine's Rogues Gallery. We're going to focus on my top 10 favorite Wolverine villains. Because I'm still far away from my comic book collection, about 700 kilometers. I'm still here in Gualeguaychú on a work trip, working in Uruguay. And the good thing is I have this weird comic book OCD where I take statistics of all the battles that take place in my comic books, winners, losers, and stuff like that, and I have it all uploaded. So I was able to make these videos, top 10 videos. As I said before, we're going to focus with Wolverine today, and we're going to start off right away with number 10. We have Wolverine battling against the Brood or the Brood. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. These evil alien cockroaches that have been like a terrible thorn in the X-Men side after all these years, and Wolverine has two or three really good stories where he just straight up hacks and slashes through a billion Brood. He's able to fight off the Brood infection, the Brood egg that he had inside. He was going to morph into one of these aliens, but he's able to fight it off. And two of these stories were written back in the 80s during the Chris Claremont era. They're really solid stories that really let Wolverine shine, show off how much of a badass he is. And there's actually one pretty recent that came out in the Old Man Logan series that I also enjoyed quite a bit. And within my collection, we have Wolverine going against the Brood 5 times, coming out on top. Those 5 times he never loses against these two guys. And I just love seeing Wolverine going through like these hordes of cannon fodder type villains that we're going to see quite a bit in this countdown. It's just really satisfying. Same thing with Deadpool. So we have the Brood. At number 9, we have the Hulk. And the sad thing is I only tally battles that I have in my collection, and I'm missing a ton of Wolverine and Hulk battles. So so especially I don't have the battles between Hulk and Wolverine and Mr. Fix-It. Those are missing in my collection. And to get back to issues here in Argentina is really, really hard. And so, to mention a couple of battles, we have Old Man Logan against Maestro during the Old Man Logan series. I really loved the 2 times they crossed paths. And in their final battle, they end up killing each other. And it's a really, really solid story. I really liked it. Even though the first confrontation in that series, like they resolved they resolved that first story pretty lazily. Like they really build it up. Most of the story is fantastic, and then something happens that I thought, oh man, that was really lazy. And they fix things up really fast. But I love the confrontation between Old Man Logan, Maestro, and then we have Old Man Logan going against that evil Hulk from his dimension, and the whole thing with the Hulk gang. That was a really, really awesome story. Heartbreaking when the Hulk gang kills his family. Wolverine breaks his promise of not popping in his claws ever again. Pops him out. He starts killing the Hulk gang left and right. Then he goes after the main Hulk, Bruce Banner, who's fucked up in the head beyond belief. And so that was pretty awesome. Then we have the time Wolverine was changed into the Horseman Death. He was sent by Apocalypse to go after Hulk because Hulk was the Horseman War, but he's able to break away from Apocalypse's control. So Apocalypse, really pissed off, sends Wolverine Death after the Hulk. So that's a pretty awesome battle. And like, we're gonna get into this further down in the video, but it's like one of the characters that I don't mind how many times they mind control, because it happens a lot with Wolverine. It's like the only time it doesn't bother me, because you get to see Wolverine going up against other awesome heroes, in this case the Hulk. My favorite Wolverine Hulk battle is actually the time they battle in Savage Land, and Wolverine teaming up with Kazar, because I remember that was the first comic book that I ever had where I got to see these two guys go toe to toe, and so that one has a real special place in my heart. So let's go to, we were at number 9. Now we have to go to number 8, which are the Sentinels, another type of cannon fodder villain. And I just get a real kick out of seeing Wolverine just climbing up the Sentinels, using his claws and just hacking and slashing at their heads and stuff like that. That image always, it's so satisfying. And Also, Wolverine battling Sentinels just really reminds me about the X-Men anime series. First pilot episode, we have the X-Men battling against the Sentinels, and there we get to see Wolverine really let loose with his claws, because since it was a kid's cartoon, like he couldn't slash at normal villains because of bloodshed and stuff like that, obviously. But they allowed the animators to really let loose Wolverine against the Sentinels, so you got to see how powerful and badass he was there. So within my collection, we have Wolverine taking down Sentinels 4 times with clean wins. He loses 1 time. There's also one really good Wolverine story where Wolverine has to go up against the Prime Sentinels during Zero Tolerance. So that was the Zero Tolerance crossover. At first, I really didn't like it, where the Wolverine, the X-Men have to go up against Bastion. But over the years, I really learned to appreciate that story. It's actually really awesome. So, number 7, we have, I fused together Hydra, AIM, the Hand, typical cannon fodder type of villains, where we get to see Wolverine just really let loose again, hacking and slashing his way through hordes and hordes of ninjas or soldiers or the beehive dudes. It's just really satisfying, just like with Deadpool. I get a real kick out of it. And one of my favorite stories with Wolverine just really letting loose against Hydra is when Hydra and the Hand capture and brainwash Wolverine to go out and take down the heroes of the Marvel Universe when they were under control by Gorgon. When Wolverine breaks loose from Hydra and Hand's control, and he goes on his Hydra Hand killing spree with it. It's so awesome. And you would see Wolverine pop up in other titles, killing Hydra agents left and right. So that was really fun. And there's one really kick-ass moment where Wolverine uses Sentinels to start stepping on hand members, and using a Sentinel to attack the Hand's like hidden fortress and stuff like that. So that was really awesome. There's the time that, within the context of Wolverine taking vengeance on Hydra, where he goes to a Hydra base, killing as many Hydra agents as possible, and he crosses paths with Deadpool. And so we have a 3-way battle between Wolverine, Hydra, and Deadpool, because Deadpool's trying to stop Wolverine from killing Weasel, who has also been captured by Hydra. So that was a pretty fun story. So there's an X-Force issue where Wolverine goes up against Hydra, and he captures a Hydra agent that actually is a father of a young mutant that's dying of some type of disease. So they need some of his marrow or blood sample or stuff like that. And the guy's like a real bigot, and he's an asshole. And it's I think it's an X-Force annual, and it's just a really good standalone story. And it's actually written by Robert Kirkman, so that's a pretty awesome story too. 6, we have I forgot to mention, Wolverine goes up against Hydra, gets 7 clean Hydra aim in hand, 7 clean victories out of 7 battles where he stands alone battling these guys. Now we can go to 7, where Wolverine goes up against his own son, Dakin or Dakin. I just really love to hate this guy, Wolverine's son. I have 8 battles where Wolverine takes him down, defeats him 5 times, loses 2, ties once. And I don't know why I hate Dakin so much. It's probably really good writing to make you just really despise him, but it's really heartbreaking when Wolverine just discovers that he's irredeemable during the Uncanny X-Force run, and takes the decision of killing him, just drowning him in a little puddle. So that was so freaking brutal, and that's probably my favorite Wolverine versus Dakin story, which actually is X-Force versus the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. But that whole build-up to that story that finishes off the Uncanny X-Force series was really awesome. And the whole thing with Dakin and Romulus too, it's pretty good. But as I said before, I just love to hate that guy. And so it's sort of, even though it's super tragic and sad, like I was, yeah, he killed him. And obviously Dakin came back. Also, Dakin became a horseman of the Kid Apocalypse during the Uncanny Avengers run, and he was also used pretty coolly in that story too. At number 5, I just put a bunch of evil mutants together. Wolverine, obviously being on the X-Men, he has to tussle with evil mutant bad guys a lot. So here I have to mention Senjaka during the Necrosis story arc. Wolverine goes toe to toe with him, with Mimic, the Dark Riders, Mr. X, Wild Child. Wolverine goes to toe with all the bad guys. Who else we can mention? Cyber, Omega Red, so there's a ton of really good stories with one-off stories with Wolverine going against these evil mutants that are a lot of fun. They really tie Wolverine to the X-Men side of the Marvel Universe. So that was number 5. So let's go to number 4. The Reavers. Reavers are headed by this guy who was on the Hellfire Club called Donald Pierce, the White Bishop. And I think most of the Reavers are actually survivors of the time Wolverine went and hacked his way into the Hellfire Club, killing as many Hellfire guards on his way in. That was a pretty epic story, a classic X-Men story. And so they have a real beef with Wolverine. I might be wrong. Like, I'm working off my memory and I haven't read that for a real long time, that story. But they have a real beef with Wolverine. They came back. No, actually the Reavers were these dudes that were hanging out in Australia, these cyborgs. And that's where the X-Men get their base. Yeah, that's my memory's coming back very slowly. But the thing is, they have a real beef with Wolverine. One time they crucified him. They tried to torture him as much as possible. Then after that, the Reavers ally themselves with Lady Deathstrike and also make things miserable for Wolverine there. Then they built this android called Albert, which is actually one of the first comic books I ever got was Wolverine. My second, the first one was like this Wolverine versus Sabretooth. And Wolverine teams up with Cable in the sewers. And after that, the issue after that, we have Wolverine going against this cyborg Wolverine called Albert that was also created by the Reavers. So I have a really special place for him in my heart for Albert and I think he ran around with this robot called LED or LCD, something like that. So I'm trying to think about other Reaver stories. Also, during the Weapon X stories, the Wolverine tie-ins into the Age of Apocalypse. During that whole series, also Wolverine has to deal with the Reavers in his quest to find Gateway. So there's quite a few Wolverine versus Reaver stories. Within my comic book collection, they clash 9 times. Wolverine comes out on top. 10 times. Defeats them 5, gets defeated once, and ties 4. At number 3, we have Deadpool. Wolverine goes up against Deadpool 10 times. Wins twice, loses twice. 5-6 ties. And the thing with Deadpool, there's not too many battles that I actually like with Wolverine and Deadpool. They always feel like missed opportunities. Like the first time they clashed, you have Wolverine going up against Deadpool, and there's some werewolves involved. and then after that, there's one really good one where Wolverine battles against Deadpool, where Deadpool actually has some real beef with Kane and Copycat. There's like a weird love triangle with them, and Wolverine gets involved in the whole battle. That's probably the first time in comic books where they battle it out. Then there's another time where Wolverine and Deadpool battle, which is illustrated by Rob Liefeld, where Rob Liefeld tries to introduce a couple of new characters and stuff like that aren't too interesting. The one that I really like, I mentioned previously, where Deadpool and Wolverine are battling. They have a 3-way battle between Hydra, Wolverine, and Deadpool. That one's actually pretty fun. And but I just really like how Deadpool really gets Wolverine's nerves. But they've really learned how to respect each other. And Wolverine knows that deep down, Wade is like this honorable guy. Really, really, really deep down. And but I'm sort of still waiting for that definitive Wolverine Deadpool battle. That probably we'll get it someday. Number 2, I put Wolverine against the X-Men because, as I mentioned previously, Wolverine has been brainwashed so many times. He's been brainwashed by the Hand and Hydra. Then he got brainwashed by a demon. Then I have to remember. There's so many times he was brainwashed by Persephone, by vampires. It'll slowly come back. There's at least into my memory like 6 or 7 times. Like it's been so overused, but you always get really good battles. So we have Wolverine battling against Cyclops, Beast, Havoc, whole X-Men lineups. The first time that really stands out is when Wolverine was by Apocalypse, when he was the Horseman of Death, going up against the astonishing X-Men lineup. It was a really solid lineup. He has Cyclops, Jean Grey, X-Man, Cable, Angel. It was like Angel was like really weak, the only weak guy on the team. Wolverine going up against Archangel. That happened a lot back in the late 80s. Archangel with his metal wings and stuff like that. Wolverine has gone up against the X-Men 17 times, 5 wins, 7 losses, 6 ties. I'm trying to and my favorite Wolverine and X-Men lineup battle is Wolverine against Cyclops during the Schism miniseries, which is like sort of heartbreaking to see. The two guys are sort of have the same objectives. The only thing is they have 2 different ways in getting there, and the whole breakup within the X-Men community and stuff like that was sort of heartbreaking. Knowing because both of these guys have immense levels of respect for each other, but also a rivalry, the whole love triangle with Jean Grey and stuff like that. So Wolverine going up against the X-Men, it's always a treat. And at number 1, obviously, we're going to have Sabretooth. Within my collection, they battled 21 times. Wolverine has 11 wins, 4 losses, and 7 ties. And my first Wolverine comic book ever was Wolverine going against Sabretooth in the sewers of New York City, as I mentioned previously, with Cable popping up in that story where Sabretooth tells Wolverine that he's his dad. Obviously he's not, but that's where he drops that for the first time. Also, it's pretty awesome. The first confrontation during the Morlock Massacre, that was also another really awesome story. The time Wolverine popped his claws within Sabretooth's head, sort of leaving him like this mindless idiot. That comic book has gatefold covers, and so like each page was like this mini poster. It was really, really awesome. There's so many classic Wolverine Sabretooth stories, and the whole thing with Sabretooth going out and killing his love interest of the moment, and that whole thing being a big problem within Wolverine's life. And also every time Wolverine's birthday comes around, Sabretooth tries to kill him too. So I'm going to leave this video here. Put in the comments below which do you think are your top 10 favorite Wolverine bad guys. And sorry if this was disorganized, but I'm just working off my memory. So see you guys next time. Probably going to bring you guys a Deadpool top 10 and maybe my top 10 favorite characters from the Initiative, because that's the only comic book series that I brought with me was the Avengers Initiative. Been reading it this whole time. See you guys next time. Bye.